In the world of symbols and heritage, sometimes silence carries more weight than 1,000 words. We are witnessing a historical split, not just within a family, but within the very concept of power in this new era. On one side is the dazzling light of the media, where personal stories are woven into focal points. On the other is the stillness of London's ancient walls, where chess pieces are being set for a future longer than any television contract. Numerous observers suggest that Prince William is exhibiting the demeanor of a chief architect of the future. Instead of reacting to the onslaught of public opinion, he chooses to strengthen the foundations of the institution. The question now is no longer, will it happen, but when is the optimal time? Redefining titles is not merely an individual act, but a symbolic restructuring. In an era of transparency, possessing a title is no longer seen as an immutable privilege, but a responsibility tied to genuine dedication. Across the ocean, we see a familiar motif, the clamor of press releases and the relentless pursuit of prominence in the global news flow. However, there is a systemic truth that few mention titles within a dynasty are not mere ornaments to be possessed. They are the very breath of tradition. When direct blood ties are no longer the sole basis, the distinction between heir and companion becomes more pronounced than ever in ancient ceremonial rules. While the world is preoccupied with analyzing dramatic interviews and memoirs in London, a new blueprint for the monarchy is emerging. These are not petty debates. This is the transformation of an institution to adapt to the 21st century. With a single signature, the structure of a millennia-old heritage can be rewritten, discarding elements no longer relevant to safeguard the overall existence. Will individual freedom or family duty prevail on this chessboard of power? The answer lies in patience, for in the game of dynasties, the winner is not the one who speaks the loudest, but the last one standing when the spotlight fades. While the outside world is awash in sensational headlines behind the solid oak doors of Kensington and Clarence House, a different script is being rewritten. No cameras, no bombastic pronouncements, just strategic records and quiet discussions that have dragged on for years. To understand what is truly happening, we must look into the intellectual divide between the two generations of top leadership, the current crown holder and his successor. King Charles, as a conciliatory father and monarch, always believed in second chances. His philosophy was one of tolerance, an attempt to mend rifts with afternoon tea and patience. He saw the prodigal sons, but Prince William saw the systemic risks. William arrived at a far more stoic and realistic conclusion. Institutions cannot exist based on emotions. In the eyes of the successor, protecting the millennia-old heritage is the ultimate priority, transcending all personal feelings. What is being quietly built is not a plan for revenge, but rather a self-defense mechanism. William understood that when a name tied to traditional values is used as a commercial tool, from podcasts to book covers, its sanctity is eroded. The precedent was there. What had happened to previous members of the family was proof of the system's resolve. This wasn't revenge, but a revolution, necessary surgery to ensure the purity of future leadership. There was a pivotal moment in those private conversations where William bluntly pointed out that ill-timed benevolence could become a vulnerability for widespread instability. He believed that to protect the monarchy from media attacks and destructive revelations, they could not continue to remain silent in the old ways. This contrast created tremendous pressure on all parties involved. Across the ocean, resistance was understandable, for when symbols of power are shaken, The structure of personal influence crumbles with them, The history of monarchies has always been a process of purification for survival. William is playing a game of chess where he has already moved many steps ahead. This is a battle between one side that wants to preserve unity through affection and the other that wants to maintain dignity through discipline. Ultimately, time will tell, can an institution survive if it does not dare to let go of the parts that are no longer compatible. We are drawing closer to the point where the line between family unity and the survival of an institution becomes clearer than ever. King Charles, with the heart of a father, sees the cracks that need to be filled with kindness. He sees individuals' memories and hopes for reconciliation. But on the opposite side, Prince William sees a system error. In the successor's thinking, this is not a matter of emotion, but a model being exploited, eroding the foundations built over thousands of years of history. Construction workers. Construction. William isn't waiting for the future. He's shaping it right now. Behind the velvet curtains lies a strategic council, not a group of fleeting crisis management experts, but constitutional historians and masters of political science. They are the ones who understand the concept to its core. Authority. Their mission to draft a comprehensive framework to protect the monarchy from the upheavals of the new era. This wasn't an immediate response to a documentary or a memoir, but a complete overhaul of the British royal operating system. A new charter is gradually emerging with non-negotiable rules. William wants to eliminate the ambiguity that has existed for too long. He aims for a system where titles and privileges are not gifts of blood, but rewards of service. The line will be redrawn sharply. You cannot simultaneously possess the dignity of a national symbol and freely operate it as a personal brand in the commercial market. If you choose independence and glamorous contracts, that's your right, but you will no longer be part of the symbol machine. William's plan was revolutionary because it shifted power back to the incumbent monarch through clear legal mechanisms. The decision of who stayed and who left would not be based on anger or personal feelings, but on a single criterion: commitment. This has been done historically for individuals who damage the public goodwill, and now it's been standardized into an operating procedure. Once you step outside to pursue your own values, you'll have to shed the protective coat of royalty. This battle isn't just about titles on paper, but about redefining what it means to be a member of royalty in the 21st century. William is building a legal fortress to ensure that whoever comes and goes, the institution will remain. As the spotlight fades, what remains is not personal squabbles, but a purified system ready for the challenges of the future. In the philosophy of ancient dynasties, there is a harsh truth. When you step through the gates to seek personal freedom, the glory of the institution will not follow you. Remember, in the philosophy of thousand-year dynasties, once you choose to step outside in search of freedom, the halo of heritage will never follow you. Facing these cold yet visionary maneuvers, how do you feel about Prince William's actions? If you support this decisiveness and believe it is a vital step to protect the legacy, leave a number 2 in the comments. If you feel these rules are too harsh and lack compassion for family, leave a number 5. We look forward to seeing your choice in the comments below. Prince William's entire vision is encapsulated in one powerful idea. If a symbol belonged to everyone, it would lose its meaning to everyone. The power of a dynasty lies in its uniqueness. Once its noble title is juxtaposed with consumer goods or social media posts, its sacred value vanishes. A constitutional legacy turned into an entertainment accessory. William did not act out of anger or personal vendetta. He is acting as a strategist, looking 50, 100, or even 200 years into the future. The question he is asking is not how to please all family members, but rather, what does this institution need to survive in the future? His answer was the limitations. The boundaries were clear, strictly enforced, and non-negotiable. To achieve this, a strategic brain was established drawing on models from Nordic monarchies such as Sweden, Denmark, and the Netherlands, places that successfully modernized by streamlining their bureaucracy and redefining the value of service. This is the biggest difference between the present and the past. While King Charles always sought a compromise, a balance between family ties and responsibility, William's approach was binary, in or out. According to him, this is not a family company where members can join or withdraw according to their personal lifestyles. It is an institution with a supreme purpose. All participants must be fully committed or completely separate. There is no room for half-hearted solutions where people want to enjoy the privileges of the crown while simultaneously pursuing private commercial deals. In the face of attempts to maintain power through legal means or media, the new system William is building is creating a constitutional fortress. When rules are codified and based on the principle of service, any individual resistance becomes insignificant in the face of institutional weight. The truth is, the world may change, but the essence of monarchical authority always demands a sacrifice of the ego for the common good. We are witnessing the birth of a new era, an era where glory is not measured by media fame, but by unwavering adherence to core values. William is proving that to protect a crown, sometimes one must learn to say no decisively, because ultimately only what is truly pure can endure the test of time. There is a truth that the media often overlooks: glittering titles never belong to a specific individual. They are not inherited property or permanent possessions. In the structure of the British monarchy, every title is borrowed from the throne. When the connection to the source of power is shaken, those titles can return to where they originated. This is not a typical property dispute, but the reclamation of constitutional symbols. In the world of administrative procedures, there is a term that sounds dry but carries immense weight: letters patent, royal patent. Don't let the name fool you. This is essentially a supreme executive decree of the monarch. No noisy parliamentary votes, no complicated referendums. With just a carefully drafted document and the signature of the head of the monarchy, the entire power structure, the order of succession, and royal membership can be fundamentally altered. This is the most powerful tool, allowing the king to redefine his common home in an instant. To understand this power, we must go back in time to 1917. Amidst the upheavals of the era, King George V recognized a paradox: the proliferation of titles was diluting the value of the royal family. Distant relatives' branches, no longer contributing to the common good, were still holding these prestigious titles. With historical determination, he issued a decree to narrow the list of those called prince and princess. This was not personal animosity, but a campaign, refining symbols to protect the prestige of the Windsor family. History is witnessing a repetition of that mindset in the new era. Amidst speculation about legal battles or intentions of resistance, there is an invisible but solid barrier: royal privileges. Once a decree has been issued based on long-standing constitutional rules, any individual attempts at litigation are often rendered ineffective against the will of the monarchy. Disputes over names or membership are no longer matters of emotion, but of formal legal documents. A lack of understanding of these mechanisms sometimes leads to illusions of power that are unrealistically impossible to fulfill. Eventually, the media frenzy would die down, leaving only the archived documents in the National Archives. William and his strategic council understood power lay not in debate, but in wielding the pen that wrote the rules. Once the decree was signed, history would turn a new page, and those who failed to adapt to the new rules would become mere footnotes in the flow of time. In the world of long-established institutions, seismic changes rarely came from public debates or noisy elections. It comes from the stillness of the pen. A group of people might be considered representatives of a dynasty in the morning, but by afternoon that position may be a thing of the past. This is the privilege of supremacy. No approval needed, just a signed decision, and the course of history will change. Many sources suggest that a strategic update lies in the archives of Kensington Palace, awaiting its moment of realization. This draft carries a simple yet revolutionary message. Titles are associated with dedication. Only those who are truly present and serve the institution full-time are allowed to wear the official emblems. The rest will be returned to the warmth of their families, but no longer as representatives of the nation. This is a step aimed at protecting the rarity and value of the royal brand in the 21st century. Imagine the power of a title. For individuals who have built entire personal empires on a single word such as Duchess, stripping them of official recognition is a devastating blow. Identity reconstruction thoroughly. When institutional backing disappears, that title is no longer a magic key to unlocking doors of power or multi-million-dollar contracts. It becomes a ceremonial title lacking the weight of legitimacy. In the world of high-level partnerships, the difference between official representative and related party is a chasm of value. Every speech, every production project, or every international event we see largely revolves around royal appearances. But what happens when the energy supplying that aura is cut off? When an individual abandons their status to seek independence, they inadvertently put themselves to a harsh market test. Is personal value great enough to survive without the shadow of the crown? William understood this better than anyone. He didn't need to fight. He simply needed to clarify the boundaries. Look at what has been built. From audio programs called archetypes to literary works signed with a prestigious title. In the world of influence, every speech, every appearance, and every branding deal is anchored to a single pillar of support: title. It's not just a name, it's a master key that unlocks doors that an ordinary celebrity could hardly reach. But what happens if that support suddenly disappears? Imagine a new reality when the signboards at international events only display a personal name without the backing of a crown. The entertainment world is inherently pragmatic in its calculations of value. They don't just pay for fame, they pay for value, exclusive and legitimate. Without those sacred words, would the allure remain intact? Fame may be brilliant, but it is often fleeting, while an institution thousands of years old possesses the power of permanence. When the radiance is cut off from its roots, the foundation of an entire personal empire will begin to show cracks in its values. Prince William did not act in ambiguity. He had deeply studied how neighboring dynasties adapted to the times. One particular case caught his attention: Queen Margrethe II's decisiveness in Denmark. With a single statement, she streamlined the monarchy by revoking the titles of her own nephews. Her reasoning was clear. The monarchy needed clarity of roles, not the chaos of symbols without accountability. William observed how the world reacted, how public opinion stabilized, and how the Danish monarchy became lean and stable. It's definitely better after that surgery. The confidence of the British heir to the throne stems from understanding that preserving a great heritage sometimes requires making difficult decisions. Restructuring doesn't necessarily have to be a dramatic face-to-face confrontation. It can unfold quietly through official channels, yet its impact can be transformative. When the rules of legitimacy are enforced, the line between a person of royal lineage and one media star, it will become unmistakable. History has proven that the longest-lasting institutions are not the most rigid, but those that adapt before being forced to. Prince William learned a valuable lesson from the northern dynasties. Decisiveness doesn't need to be accompanied by noise. In Denmark, a symbolic transfer of power took place quietly, decisively, and without compromise. The goal wasn't to please everyone, but to protect the centralization and transparency of the royal family. When the lines are redrawn, the gray area of privileges without accompanying responsibilities will be completely eliminated. While London is quietly building a legal fortress across the Atlantic, alarm bells have begun to ring. Terms like restructuring or title reform are no longer whispers in palace corridors, but have become an existential threat to a functioning media empire. Realizing that their foundation depended entirely on their connection with the royal court, a bold strategy was devised: commercializing the sacred. The idea of turning a royal title into a trademark began to take shape, an attempt to transform national heritage into corporate assets existing independently of the will of the crown. This was an unprecedented confrontation in history. One side viewed the title as service to the Constitution. One side considers it as brand identity. If a title is registered as intellectual property, it becomes a business tool, a legal entity beyond the control of the monarchy. But can a signature on commercial paper replace the weight of thousands of years of tradition? William and his constitutional experts are facing a thorny question. How can we prevent the transformation of a national symbol into a personal marketing tool without creating a global legal crisis? William understood that the power of the monarchy lay in its monopoly on legitimacy. Once you allow a family member to privatize a title for commercial purposes, you inadvertently open the door to the disintegration of the symbol. His answer remained consistent: clarity. There are no middle ground. You can't be both a businessman running a global brand and a representative of the monarchy. This separation is necessary to protect public trust and the sanctity of the heritage. This battle isn't just about titles on book covers or podcasts. It's a battle to redefine the value of honor in the 21st century. When strategic plans clash with commercial ambitions, what ultimately remains will be what is most authentic. History will remember those who dared to draw painful lines to protect the whole, rather than those who sought to possess a piece of the spotlight for themselves. In the game of symbols, the final piece always belongs to the one who holds the power of legitimacy. In an attempt to secure the future, a purely commercial idea was proposed, trademarking a royal title. The goal was clear: to transform a noble title into a business asset, a brand that could be protected by civil law. However, in the world of monarchies, applying a checkerboard mentality to a national-level chess game was a systemic mistake. They forgot that only the crown has the right to decide what belongs to it. Before the initial paperwork was even completed, the palace was a step ahead. Without any public debate, Prince William's advisors had established a legal, protective perimeter. They had quietly activated stringent regulations regarding the use of the royal title for commercial purposes. All escape routes were blocked, all loopholes closed. This was not an immediate reaction, but the result of a methodological study by leading historians and strategists. The message from Kensington Palace was very strong: the crown of bestowal and the crown of control. You can't take a piece of an institution, take it out into the world, and turn it into a personal business tool. William demonstrated a completely new style of leadership, far removed from the diplomatic finesse of the previous generation. He didn't seek compromise. He redrawn the lines with permanent ink where there was no room for alternatives or half-hearted negotiations. Most remarkably, William's team didn't need to create new rules. They simply activated rituals and precedents that had existed for centuries. By deeply understanding the existing system, they transformed ancient rules into the most powerful modern tools. They were prepared for every situation, every reaction, and every legal loophole. While their opponents were still grappling with the concept of trademarks, the dynasty had already asserted ultimate ownership of its own history. Throughout a millennium, the monarchy has faced countless tests of power. Every time it was challenged, the system did not collapse, but instead gave rise to new self-defense mechanisms. What Prince William is currently implementing is, in essence, a renaissance of old values within a modern context. Without needing to invent new laws, he and his team are simply dusting off long-standing protocols, rules that had been forgotten but still carry the primal weight of legitimacy. This approach possesses a brilliant strategic quality. Change is not presented as an act of punishment or a personal confrontation, but rather as a process of transformation, modernization, and streamlining. Who can object to clarity? Who can resist making an institution more transparent and fit for the 21st century? By firmly linking every decision to the flow of tradition, William created an impenetrable shield. You cannot challenge an institution when it is operating according to the very rules that have sustained its existence for generations. After years of turmoil and relentless media attention, the palace is now enveloped in a completely different atmosphere: confident stillness. The defensive, passive attitude has vanished, replaced by a proactive and visionary demeanor. Even the most discerning observers must acknowledge that this is a strategic move at the highest level. There are no more public debates, no more emotionally charged counter-messages. The institution has chosen a dignified silence as its response to all the external noise. William has proven that he is no longer someone waiting for his turn. He is truly leading and reshaping the monarchy right now. With his dignity above the noise mindset, he has transformed challenges into opportunities to renew the entire system. His patience and methodology have created a sharper, more focused, and more purposeful entity. While personal stories continue to unfold in the newspapers under changed conditions, the Crown has completed its self-purification to stand firm against the tide of time. When the oak doors close and the mystique of royalty is no longer included as part of the brand's gift package, an existential question arises. Where does the true value of an individual lie when separated from the cradle of institution? In the chambers of power of the elite, what remains of the invitation, when the strength of millennia of history is no longer a foundation? This is not a personal attack, but a harsh test of self-reliance. The crown doesn't need to be destroyed because it possesses the most powerful weapon, time and evolution. It doesn't need dramatic confrontations or noisy acts of retaliation. Instead, it chooses to adapt using the very systems that have sustained its position for 10 centuries to address modern challenges. This is the operation of a machine refined by blood and fire, knowing how to turn every upheaval into a springboard for survival. While the world was captivated by the hype and sensational headlines, a long-term game was underway. William and his strategic team proved an enduring truth. Real power doesn't belong to the person who speaks the loudest in the room, but to the person who understands the system best. They aren't building sandcastles on media, they're forging foundations of steel. The heir's confidence doesn't come from fleeting fame, but from mastering the operational codes of an empire that will never sink. The crown doesn't need to destroy anyone. It just needs to patiently wait until the rules of the institution fulfill their mission. Now the moment of waiting has ended. The plan of the chief architect, the one who holds power in the shadows of silence, is gradually becoming a reality. A new era has begun where legitimacy is paramount, and what doesn't belong to the foundation will automatically be filtered out by the currents of history. Ultimately, the biggest question remains: as the borrowed glory of the crown fades, what will truly remain behind the titles? The British monarchy doesn't need to speak out to assert its power. It simply lets the system operate according to the iron laws of history. Prince William has proven that in the game of symbols, the winner isn't the one who makes the most noise, but the one who knows how to preserve legitimacy amidst the storms of the times. Is this a necessary reconstruction to protect a millennium-old heritage, or a harsh step for those who have chosen their own path? We'd really love to hear your perspective. Do you side with King Charles's tolerance, or do you support Prince William's steel discipline? This is for reference only based on unverified hypotheses, rumors, and public opinion. Let's discuss this from an objective analytical standpoint. Don't just sit there, interact with me. Press 1 for curiosity and 0 for skepticism. Hit like and subscribe so we can uncover the truth behind the curtains together.